In this video, I'm going to be giving away the landing page conversion tactics that I've used across many of the businesses that I've owned. So the site that I want to look at here is called submitjuice.com. It is a company that I bought a while back, I fixed, and then I recently sold. But the tactics used here are the same tactics I use across any of the other sites that I own, and it's stuff that I've found that works really, really well. So the first thing I want you to notice is the heading. It's very big, very bold, very easy to see right in the middle. You don't want a visitor to come to your site and be confused and have to use their reasoning skills to figure out what they need to look at. You want them to go to the site and things should be very easily accessible, very easily seen. You don't want them to have to think, because thinking is uncomfortable, and the last thing you want is someone to be uncomfortable on your landing page. So if I go to this site here, it's the same website, but I've just modified it to sort of prove my point. The only thing I've changed is the title and subtitle, but you can see it looks completely different just because the text size has changed. So it's very important that you have that very big, bold title right in the middle. Next thing I want to point out is the bullet points. I have found that using bullet points over a subtitle paragraph or sentence works a lot better and has a lot higher conversion rate. And I sort of gave you this example here. Do you think this is easier to read versus this? And I think most everyone, and the statistics show, this is a lot easier to read. You can skim through it, you can start reading the first bullet point, and if it doesn't make sense or if it doesn't really apply to you, you can skip down to the third one, versus if you're reading a paragraph, you can't really do that at least as easily. So bullet points are something that I found has a lot better conversion, but I don't see a lot of people doing that. Next thing I want you to notice is above the fold, and by the way, the fold is everything that you see in your screen right here. So if you scroll down, this is below the fold. Everything that you see without the user having or visitor having to scroll down is considered above the fold. So you want to fit as much information in the fold section as you can without overwhelming the visitor. And so you can see I try to do this by having these badges down here. I have some social proof here, and at the same time, I try to keep it clean. Now, one thing that I have not actually seen very many other sites doing at all, I think I'm honestly the only person that I've seen doing this, and that is removing the pricing button. Because a lot of times I found myself going to a site, I see that they have this pricing button, and I just click on it, and I don't read anything, and it just takes me down to the price. I can see what the price is, and I leave the site. Because, and I really shouldn't do this, but as a visitor, I'm just like, okay, I know what I'm looking for. And is this a site that's providing what I'm looking for at roughly the price that I'm looking to buy? If not, I'm out of there. But you don't really want that as a business owner. You want the visitor to come to your site and to see things and to understand the service and the product that you're actually providing before they see your prices. So I completely removed the pricing button there, and you have to actually have to look for it on the landing page, because you should understand the landing page before you see the price. This sort of leads me to, I don't have an about page, I don't have a contact page, I don't have a FAQ page, and I don't have a pricing page. Now, if you want to have those as well, I think that's fine, but all of the information the visitor should need in order to purchase should be on your landing page. You don't want them to have to go across your site and piece together information in order to buy. You're going to have a lot lower conversion rate if you do that. So if there's something that I find that's useful that the customer knows or that the visitor knows, like, for example, about us, or if they need to contact us or something, it's going to be on the landing page. It's not going to be a separate page underneath a massive drop down that has another drop down that has another drop down. You know, maybe if you're a Fortune 500 company or something, maybe that applies. But for most businesses, just put everything on the landing page, everything that's applicable, and remove the stuff that's bloated. The final two things I want to know above the fold are, one, this social proof badge here, and two, these 4 press badges down here. The reason why I have this is because it's very important for a visitor to trust you, and you need to establish trust. You can do this in a lot of different ways, but social proof is probably the best way to establish trust with a visitor. As a visitor, you might not necessarily trust the business page that you're going to, but you do trust other people who may have trusted that business page in the past. So it's very important to show that information up front and quickly. So I have a product hunt badge here, and then I also have, that's also above the fold, these press badges down here. Now, I used to think that in order for a site to get listed in AP News or Harvard or MSM or Fox News, whatever, that those companies would have to go and find your company and then write an article about it. But in reality, you actually go to them and say, hey, I have a company that I would like you to write a press release for. There's a lot easier way to do it than that. You can actually use a service like SubmitJuice.com. SubmitJuice actually does this for you, but there are other services that do it for you. So the final two things I want to mention that are above the fold here are one, the social proof badge, and two, the 4 press badges. So when a visitor comes to your site, it's important to explain what it is that you do, but it's also probably even more important to establish trust with the visitor. Because if you're a visitor and you go to a landing page, you go to some random website on the internet and you're looking to buy, you have to trust them because you're going to give them money. And so you want to know that, hey, is this actually going to give me what I want? A way to establish that trust is by looking at other people who've previously purchased. You need to show to the customer, hey, look, this product is legit. There are other people who are real who also value this product, and chances are you will too. So one way to do that is by having social proof, which I have here. For one, I have the Product Hunt badge, and so it shows 417 upvotes. If you're familiar with Product Hunt, which my target audience is, you'll see that as a very good indication that this is a trustworthy site. So if you scroll below the fold here, you can see I have more reviews and more ratings from past clients. It's very important to establish trust with the visitor before you even tell them what it is that you sell. Now, we do tell them what we sell up here in the title and subtitle bullet points, but the rest that's above the fold and slightly below the fold is just social proof, and it's just to help build that trust. And continuing to scroll down the page here, so there's a lot of strategies for pricing. This is the strategy that I use, and this is the one that I found the most useful across many of my products. This is not a very good example because I used to actually have another product here that took up this entire row and is listed for $997, so $997. And the reason why that was up there was as an anchor for people's perception of the price. So when they see that $997, they think to themselves, oh, this is actually pretty expensive. And they expect to see that the prices increase after that because typically, at least in the English language, you start from left and go to right. So things that are cheaper are usually on the left and things are more expensive are on the right. So if you see the first price is basically $1,000, you're probably going to expect that it's only going to get more expensive from there. But come to find out, you are pleasantly surprised and you realize that you were wrong. And so things are actually cheaper here, which is why I list the prices from left to right, but it's also why I have a very expensive price here, which you cannot see, but that's besides the point. So that strategy is called price anchoring, where a visitor will see a higher price first, and then they'll see a bunch of smaller prices. And relative to the big price, the smaller prices look more appealing versus just straight out of the gate, giving them the highest price you have. The next part in the pricing strategy I have here is ending the prices in 7. So you can do 3 or 7. At least that's what I found works best. And for some reason, mentally, it is difficult for people to round up 3 or 7 to, in this case, the nearest 100. So it would be, if you look at this, you can tell it's $300, but for some reason, it's less likely for people to click in their mind that it's $300 versus if it was listed for $299. But if you say $297 or $293 or $393, for example, it's a lot harder for people to round up to that next 100, and therefore they see the price as being what it is versus rounding up to what they think it is. And that leads me to the next strategy. This strategy has a name. I can't remember the name of it. I want to say it's like the popcorn strategy or something like that, but it's what movie theaters use to sell popcorn. And I'm using the same strategy here. And that is, if you look at Classic, so you can see this is listed for, let's just say $200. And the main thing that you're getting with this is that you're getting listed to 20 directories. But if you pay only $100 more, you get listed to more than twice as many directories. So you're getting a lot more for only paying $100 more. And so this really helps the user kind of step up to paying a bit more premium because they realize they're getting a lot more for paying for the more expensive thing. And so then you may ask yourself, okay, well, what's the point of even having this here at all? Why not just list a more expensive product? When a visitor visits, sometimes they're not necessarily certain that they're going to buy. Sometimes they're kind of considering it. And it is a lot easier for them to mentally accept a lower price than a higher price. So if you go, for example, to a movie theater and you see popcorn is listed for $2 or something, you might think, okay, that's not bad. I don't mind spending $2 or $3 on popcorn. But then you realize, oh, you could get this bigger bowl and a drink for $7. And it starts walking you up the price ladder, and then come to find out you just spent $20 on food at the movie theater. Versus if they just showed you $20 is what you get and you never had anything below that, you'd be less likely to spend money at all because you just weren't interested in spending $20. The same thing applies here. If they see the price of $9.97, for example, or even $2.97, they might feel like, this is a bit expensive, but $197 is a bit more attainable. It is a bit more feasible for them to spend. And so they may start out with this and consider buying and take a look at all the features, and then only to realize that really they get the best deal if they spend a little bit more. Okay, so the final thing I want to note is the footer. Now, this isn't the best footer, but a good footer really separates a good company from a bad company. And I don't know why more people don't spend more time on their footers, because it's something that you don't really think about. It's at the end of the page. You kind of think, who cares? No one really visits that area. But actually, a lot of people spend a lot of time there, and it really separates your business from other ones. Now, this isn't necessarily the best footer here, but some of the practices that make a good footer are applied here. The first being that the footer is the size of the page. So it is a big footer. It's not just one line and it's barely noticeable at the bottom of the page. I think this is important because when you visit a site that's a true business, they have other pages to show you just naturally. They don't have to work to find something to show you. Versus if you land on a site that's, chances are their footer is going to be very small. And so that sometimes makes people not really trust the business. The next point is have an address, and also to make it even easier for the visitor, have a Google Maps box. Now, this can be an actual Google Maps integration like it is here, or it can just be a screenshot that looks like a map. That's fine. The point is you want to show the visitor that, hey, we're a legitimate business. Now, in reality, this is just a PO box, but it is an address that the company uses. But some visitors may see this and they think, oh, they're a legitimate business and they actually have an office at this address. This isn't the case. We never said we had an office, but again, it helps establish trust if you see that they are a real business at a real address. Another thing you can do, which I don't have here, but I've had it on other sites and it's worked really, really well, is having a phone number. You can list the phone number in the About section, or you can list it just below here. But a phone number is only going to be, at least most of the time, only going to be on a site that's legit. Very few scams are going to have a phone number, or very few low quality companies are going to have a phone number. So it helps establish trust. Now you may think, well, I don't want to have to answer the phone for a customer or a potential client to call. That's fine. You can have it go to voicemail and then respond over email, or have it go to voicemail and have a salesperson or a virtual assistant respond, or have an AI agent answer. Chances are, though, most people don't actually call the number. Now, of course, it depends on the type of business. If you're a high ticket sales, they're going to call the number. But for lower ticket sales and for e-commerce products, those types of things, most of the time they don't actually call. They just see the number and it builds up that trust. The final thing here is social icons. Now, these are sort of more obvious. A lot of people have these in their footer, but I think that it's very, very important to have them. And it's also very important to have a social media account that's active, because what I do, and I know that there are other people that do this as well, when you're on a new page, I scroll all the way down to the very bottom. I find the footer and I find these buttons and I click on them, and I want to see, is a social media account active? How many followers does it have? Are they posting now? Or is it a dormant account that was created 10 years ago that hasn't been touched in the past 3 years? It doesn't really look like the business is active, but you want the page to look active. You want it to be alive if it is alive, so that the visitor knows that the business is still a business. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to follow me as I travel around the world. I'm on my 9th year of digital nomading as I buy and build businesses that help fund my lifestyle.